Okay, so, all right, so we want to begin by just settling in, getting mind and body in the same place. Please take that sign and put it on the chair there.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, come on in.
Hey, good morning. This is a good reason to have the chair out in the hall. This is a good reason to have the chair out in the hall.
Yeah.
Too.
And sit on the floor. You can take a chair, whatever you're more comfortable with. Yeah. Great. What's your name?
I'm Eric.
Eric. Hi, Money Palmo.
Say it again, please.
Palmo?
Palmo.
Yes.
Nice to meet
you. This is
Camille.
Camille.
Nice to meet you, Camille.
Camille. And please introduce yourselves.
I'm Lucy.
Lucy, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Eric. Eileen.
Eileen, nice to meet you.
Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
I'm Lauren.
Hey, Lauren.
My name's Heather.
Hey, Heather.
Great. If you have coffee or tea, I'm just asking you, please be careful not to spill it this carpet.
Will do.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So we are trying to start by just, again, settling in, mind and body in the same place. I just need to let you know that we are being live streamed on YouTube, but the camera's back there, so you're still anonymous if that is your desire. So we're going to begin with our bodhicitta motivation. Bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word. Bodhi means awakened or enlightened, and citta means the mind and heart together. So the literal translation of that is enlightened or awakened mind heart. And the definition is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And sentient meaning with consciousness, so it includes animals and beings in other realms. So the entire focus of this path is to develop the qualities that are necessary to benefit others to the maximum degree. Of course, we are working on ourselves, trying to develop habits of patience and love and compassion and mindfulness and wisdom and so forth. But we try to make our motivation the motivation to benefit others. If the notion of benefiting all sentient beings seems a little bit too big, that's fine. We can just make the wish that the time we spend together this morning benefits not only ourselves, but others as well, which it will do naturally if we practice meditation. Okay. I feel like I feel just a little bit too close. So
Okay, yeah.
kind of back up here. We're just, it's just the second time we're here, so it's still kind of
Playing.
working with the space and the light and the this and the that and the other thing.
How long do you guys have the room for going forward? As long as you want, or?
To the end of October.
Yeah, but that's when I sign up again, we can have it for the rest of the year without a problem if we need to.
So we're looking for, why do you ask?
I was just curious if there's going to be like, you're going to move around a lot or if this is
Well, we're trying to just stay here until we find another stable place,
okay,
and then we'll be there.
cool.
And then we won't be moving around because nobody likes that, including us. Okay, so I do need to excuse myself for a moment to follow the calls of Mother Nature. We'll be right back. Sorry about that. Issue of time.
Good thing is if we suddenly get an influx of people, we can just use the room across the hall. Okay. So we have room to grow here if we
What type of meditation? do you
can't
do?
find a place.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay.
That's
Is that noting?
But it's not.
Or often?
We're not that
That means where you're like, see different kinds of sensations. So you say, like, oh, that's like that's like seeing, that's like inner hearing, that's like inner seeing. So that's sort of
Here.
That, but it's definitely working with like sensation and like body scans.
Okay.
Or body-
I've done some, like, I guess 3 different things. I've done like just breath following, kind of like notice on the mark of breath. But then I guess like this more Zen
Can't do anything
thing
about
where
the
you're
band.
just trying to like pay really close attention to everything that's happening.
Next week, somebody wants to flush the
I
toilet
don't know.
like 15.
I think it's
Distracting.
I get less drowsy when I do that. So like if I'm sort of tired, I'll like tend to do that. So like fall asleep.
But I think.
And
this
then
is
I
nice,
also
just
play
a temporary.
Yeah.
he has this thing sort of like it is like noting
We have room to grow.
where you just there's 6 different sort of sensations that you try to notice, like outer sound, inner sound,
Nice.
and then like outer images, inner images, and like outer feelings,
Big
inner feelings.
murals and
And
grand.
they can sort of like pick any one of those to pay attention to.
By the way, there's restrooms you go out here and turn left again, right? They're right there. Then when you come out, look for the hippo butt. That's how you need to turn right. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's it. Bye. So we have our bodhicitta motivation that we've established, okay? And so I have an idea what I would like to discuss today, but I'm first going to put the question to all of you. What questions do you have for me today? It can be about your own practice, it can be about meditation, it can be about Buddhism in general. Anything?
Yeah, so I had this thing come up in my meditation the other day that I'm a little confused about. And so I was meditating and then for like 20 minutes or something, and then I got bored, which happens regularly. And then I focused on the boredom itself.
Good.
And what happened was, so I'm focusing on the boredom. So like, I'm feeling bored. I'm like, okay, now I'm focusing on it.
Mhm.
And maybe 10 seconds later, I realized that I was no longer in discomfort.
Mhm.
But it was strange because it felt like at least that like the discomfort was the boredom, and I was focusing on the boredom, and I didn't understand how that discomfort changed to not be there anymore. Like while I was like trying to focus on it. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense because it happens all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It can be like that with boredom, with anger, with physical discomfort also. It's very, very interesting. Yeah. So what is your question about that?
So I guess I'm just trying to understand like sort of like mechanistically what's going on. Like
Okay.
is there I'm trying to orient like, okay, like there's like observation happening, there's the boredom sensation happening,
Mhm.
and like maybe there's like a me in there somewhere. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to understand how it's like all organized. I don't know if you could give me any guidance on that.
Me? What me? Where?
Well, maybe it's hard to see, but I'm not convinced it's not there.
Yeah, okay. That's a topic for another day. That's a big subject.
Yeah.
So first of all, for everybody, boredom is an excellent subject of meditation. Okay. Usually when we go to sit, we have a lot of concepts in our head about what it is, what it should be, how it's going to be. Okay. And then there's like the reality of it. Okay. And our preconceptions, our expectations can be problematic for sometimes or for some of us. So, for example, if we're always expecting to be engaged, then the moment that we feel bored, we're just going to give up, right? It's going to be like, oh, I don't like this. It's boring. Yeah, it's boring. You're doing the same thing, doing the same thing all the time. It doesn't have to be boring, but it can lead us to boredom because we want activity. Okay, we want pleasure. We want activity. These two things. Sometimes emotional pain will arise because we finally sat down and sort of are quiet and we're kind of looking at our mind. And then all this sort of whatever is happening or happened in the past begins to arise. That can be upsetting, make us want to quit. Sometimes it's boredom, like Eric was saying. Sometimes it's physical discomfort. So with physical discomfort, we have to be a little bit careful. We have to be the judge. So like Lucy, for example, was saying that she injured her knee. So if she was sitting on the floor and she started feeling knee pain because of this injury, I would advise her to move her leg. Okay. But if we're sitting and we're just feeling a little bit uncomfortable, we have an itch or we have a little bit of pain somewhere, it's good to use that pain as a focus of our meditation. Okay. And to use boredom as the focus of our meditation, what did you do when you used boredom? How did you use that?
So what I was noticing was that like I was getting like upset and tight and like trying to like get like avert myself around it somehow, like twist around the boredom. Instead of doing that, I was just like sort of like suck myself into like the displeasure of it. And then I just tried to like hold that, I guess.
So it's observing. So instead of running away, we're diving.
Right.
Okay. And as soon as we're diving in, boredom is gone because you're engaged. Yeah. So you're using the boredom as a focus of your meditation. It's gone because you're engaged. Sometimes when we use our physical pain as a focus of our meditation, it will also disappear. And that's a little more difficult to explain. Off the top of my head, I don't really know why, okay, or how to explain that, but I've experienced it countless times, as have many others, okay? So if we're going to use pain, for example, as the focus of our meditation, we want to do exactly what you said. We want to dive in, okay? The usual meditations that are given for dealing with pain are escapist. So, which is fine and it works to a certain extent, right? Imagine yourself on a beach and there's the waves and, you're sort of taking your mind out of the situation. Using the pain as a focus of meditation is exactly the opposite. You're going right to the center. So it's a mindfulness practice in the same way that we use the breath as a focus of our attention. When we're doing mindfulness or breathing practice, we use the physical pain as a focus of our attention when we're doing pain meditation. So observing it, staying with it, letting the thoughts come and go, right? Just like with mindfulness or breathing, just letting the thoughts come and go as they will, okay? Staying with the pain and then trying to like know the pain. So like, where's the center point of the pain? How far out does it radiate? Is it coming and going? Or is it static and solid? What is the quality? It's a little bit like when you go to the doctor, and they're like, is it sharping or stabbing? Or, I'm like, I don't know, it hurts. Like, just, help me. But so if are you familiar with Mingyur Rinpoche, Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche?
I'm not, no.
No, he's really wonderful, and I highly recommend him. But he does talk about this. with thoughts in particular. There's a book called Joyful Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Is it wisdom?
Yeah,
Yes, the one that we just studied.
Yeah.
Okay, Joyful Wisdom. I highly recommend this book. By the way, on our website, under resources, I believe, there's a whole list of recommended reading for various topics. Okay. So he suffered from panic attacks when he was a kid. And he talks about meditation in the context of that. When he was teaching us in France, he mentioned like, oh, you start to look at a thought, you start to try to like pin down a thought in it, and then it just like disappears like a fish in the water, and it's just like gone. Like, what happened to that thought? Unfortunately, I don't remember what he said after that. So we're a little stuck. But personally, I think my personal theory of that, which may be right or wrong, I don't know, is just that a lot of well, not a lot, but actually everything we experience is mental event. Even the pain we experience is mental to a large extent. Doesn't mean that it's not present, okay? But we increase our physical pain through something's wrong over there.
so
It's still working here, so I don't understand what the issue is there. There you go. No, but I don't know. It's still showing here. There you go. Okay, it's working fine. Thank you. Thank you. So we have pain, or we have boredom, or we have some emotional pain, okay, loss, and we add more pain onto that mentally. That's one aspect of this dynamic. Okay.
Do you have an idea? So I agree with you that it seems like there's like what the pain is, and there's like the way that I'm like responding to it, which can make
Right.
it worse. But
And the story we make about the pain.
do you like? And so I think, yeah, I agree. That's what happens. That's what it seems like, at least superficially. But like, what is happening internally? Like, do you sort of have the like? I imagine like if you can meditate, get a good enough focus on that sort of process. Like if you can see yourself doing it, you're like, okay, something's happening, and then like I'm doing this extra thing. And when you look at that really closely like, with your mind, like when you focus on the meditation,
Mhm.
have you been able to sort of observe like in your own mind, like what's going on exactly during that process?
I'm not sure that I understand your question. Can you put it another way?
Yeah. So suppose that there's like a really gross. Suppose I drop my key after I use the toilet. Suppose I drop my keys in the toilet, and I need to get my keys out of the toilet, right? And the toilet's gross, and my keys are in there. But before I put my hand in the toilet, right, sort of nothing has changed. It's still just me standing there waiting for my hand. But all like discomfort is already arising. Like there's already discomfort happening. As I put my hand closer and closer to the toilet, like more and more aversion is like arriving into my mind. I put my hand into the toilet, then like the actual like physical sensation to start to occur, right? But there's already all this discomfort that's been preceded all that physical sensation. And so my question is, once you've achieved some sort of better meditative capability, and you're able to sort of notice what your mind is doing more closely, when it's just that beginning part where there's all the discomfort happening in that mind, what do you see happening then?
Well, I think that this actually would require an intellectual foundation as well.
Okay.
Okay. Meaning to study the nature of reality, studying the nature of the self, understanding the nature of illusion, right? There's for us older people here, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the word delulu. Delulu? No? No, even you,
I know
youngster?
that word. I
You-
just think it's a silly word.
You know the word, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Just means out of touch with reality, based off like the word delusion or delusional, right? Or delulu, okay? So ultimately, the teachings say that everything is dreamlike and illusory. Okay. That includes ourself, the physical world, our perception, others. Okay. Everything and within our experience is an illusion. It doesn't. So I'm going towards the teachings on emptiness. Are you familiar at all with those teachings?
I've heard people talk about them, but I don't really understand them.
Okay. How about you, Camille? You've read that?
Yeah.
Teachings on emptiness. Okay. So the teachings on emptiness are it's very intricate, okay, and challenging to understand fully. But I can give you a sort of brief synopsis, let's say, of those teachings, okay? And the Sanskrit word is shunyata, and the Tibetan word is chuying. So emptiness is a little problematic because it immediately implies void, right? It immediately implies empty room, empty cup, nothingness, all right? But that's not actually what it means. It means empty of inherent existence. So what does that mean? That is going towards this notion that like nothing is independently existent, meaning everything depends on other things, causes and conditions, right? So the toilet is dependent on causes and conditions. The waste in the toilet is dependent on causes and conditions. The keys, yourself, your hand, your house, everything. Okay. And when we view the world sort of without analyzing, our kind of knee-jerk reaction to everything is to assume that everything is solid, truly existent, permanent, independent. Okay. And this is the root of marikpa, or ignorance, fundamental ignorance of the nature of reality. Okay. So if I take something simple, I take something parts. If I take something simple like this water bottle, okay, if I don't think about it, okay, I just pick it up and I just assume it's permanent. I don't think about this disintegrating, being destroyed. I don't think about that it's made of parts. Okay. It's a little bit harder with something that essentially has two parts, but anyway, right? It's still made of parts. It has it's made of different materials. It was, designed by someone. It was put together by a bunch of people somewhere. If you're thinking, well, some kind of machine made this, that's fine. Some kind of machine probably did make this, right? But someone had to make the machine, design the machine, figure out what color they wanted this to be, what design they wanted it to be, what writing they wanted on it. South Park Mall, 25th wedding, 25th anniversary celebration. Got this at a secondhand store. By the way, highly recommend secondhand stores for water bottles. They're always there and they're cheap as dirt. So, okay. So I'm thinking without analyzing, this is permanent. I'm not thinking about the history of this, who made it, all the different moving parts that kind of go into this from the past. And I'm not thinking about the future of this thing, okay? Where it's going to eventually end up, losing it being destroyed, it being permanent, okay? Without analyzing, that's how I see this, the computer, all of you, this room, the belt, the books, everything, okay? And it's problematic because this is a completely wrong assumption of how things actually function. And it's particularly problematic when we apply that misunderstanding to one's own self, ourselves. Yeah. Where we think I am permanent, I am independently existent. We don't consider like, we say like the I exists, right? I like tea, I want to watch a movie. This I is very strong in our mind. Okay. But what are we gonna point to that we can say that is my I? Okay. There's not one single thing. There's a collection of things, right?
What about just all the cells that make up your body and the way that they're related to one another, that current structure of all those cells? What if I just say that's your eye and my eye is just the way that all my cells are constructed right now?
Mhm. So you have countless eyes.
No, so my eye is just, it's not a single thing, it's made of parts.
Right, exactly. That's exactly the point. It's not a single thing, it's made of parts.
I suppose, let me take a step back and say that I do think it's a single thing. I think, sorry, I misspoke. It's a single thing that is made of parts.
Yes, it's made, but you can't have a single thing made of parts
Why not?
because all the parts also have parts.
Right?
There isn't a single part that you could point to and say, this is only that thing.
I agree with you. This is like, you couldn't point to just my hand or like a single neuron
Mhm.
or anything like that,
Mhm.
but all of them together, I guess is what I
Yeah,
want to
but
call
it's still, those are called the aggregates. And that's actually one of the main arguments against the idea of a self, is we have the aggregates. Anybody remember what the aggregates are? Form, feeling, perception, consciousness. Form, feeling, perception, consciousness, and I always forget one. So the idea is that like there isn't one solitary thing. If you look at your hand, okay, there's not one thing I can point to that I can say this is my hand. Right? This is not my hand, this is my thumb. Same thing with the fingers. This is the palm. This is the back of my hand. There's not one thing I can say that's my hand. I can say I have decided to put the label hand on all these parts when they're put together like this. Okay. But that's just a label. That's not truly existent.
But when the parts are put together like this, why don't they make a hand?
They do make a hand, but
Okay.
it's not truly existent. Okay. It's not something that is permanent, independent, etc.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Clearly your hand's not permanent
Right.
or independent.
Right. But it's the same with your idea of a bunch of cells being together.
And I agree. It's not clearly I'm gonna dematerialize and die.
Right.
And I
I
depend.
hope not soon, I hope you have you retired to the future, hopefully. Okay. It could be soon, though, you never know. But all of those, if I'm taking your argument, okay, our cells are changing millisecond by millisecond,
I agree.
right? So you still don't have a permanent eye.
I agree it's not permanent.
So you have something that is moving all the time, changing every second. I don't know if you ever heard that phrase, you can't step into the same river twice. It's that, we call this thing a river, but actually it's changing constantly. The water's moving all the time. The banks are, changing all the time, right? You put your hand in there and you pick up your hand, you put your hand again, the river's already changed, in a million different ways. But we conventionally, using conventional truth, or there's relative truth and there's absolute truth, okay? According to relative truth, yes, there's nothing wrong with saying that's river, this is my body, my name is Palmo, whatever, that's fine, okay? But if you are going to examine it from the viewpoint of absolute truth, none of that exists in the way that we perceive it, okay? So we're not saying that it doesn't exist at all and everything is just void and nothingness, okay? We're saying things do not exist as we perceive them, where we have mistaken perception. And even science bears that out, right? So science say, this book is made of molecules and atoms whizzing around, right? A constant motion. This book is in fact in a constant state of disintegration, but it's happening so slowly that we don't see it with our naked eye, right? And quantum physics says this book is mostly space and light, but we don't perceive it that way, okay? We can trust science or not trust science, as we see. There's a lot of people who want to think the earth is flat and things like that, okay? Right? But even science will say, we're not perceiving this the way that it truly is. Okay. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that it doesn't function the way it's supposed to function. It just means it doesn't exist the way that we perceive it. Okay. One of my favorite, do you know Thich Nhat Hanh? You heard of Thich Nhat Hanh? You have. I knew that you would. You Vipassana lady.
The Plum Village guy.
Yeah, the Plum Village guy. Yeah. So he has a beautiful description of in one of his books about like looking at the page that you're reading, and that the page contains the clouds and the sky and rain and the lumberjack and the bologna sandwich that the lumberjack had, etc. Right? Because this page, even just a single page, cannot exist without all those things. And it's infinite regress, really. You need a tree to have paper. Okay. But think about all the things you need to have a tree, right? And then you need someone who's going to cut down that tree and do all the things that are necessary to make paper. And then you need all the other elements that go into putting print on this paper and binding it together in a book. So it's not just a piece of paper, okay? And that's like going from the past to the present, as I was saying before, going from the present to the future. As I was saying, this is constantly disintegrating. Even if I never touched it, didn't do anything with it, it eventually will just turn to dust, right? I volunteers here at the library. So you have to protect these really old books, right? Because they're disintegrating. They're farther along in the process of disintegration. So why bring all that up? And this is a very big topic. It really requires a lot of study, but I just we need to start asking questions like this. We need to start asking, where is the I? Do I even exist the way that I think I do? Because these assumptions are what ultimately makes us suffer. Okay. So go back to your original question about like, what is actually happening when I'm bored and I use the boredom as a focus of my meditation, and then I'm not bored anymore? What's that process? That process is just observation of how things really are. That's what that is. That's how that's happening. Okay. We're taking away the labels, the judgments, the big storyline that we have attached to whatever thing that is, whether that's physical pain, emotional pain, boredom, what have you. Okay. That's the process. It's just looking.
I see. So like directing the attention strongly sort of bypasses whatever stories I tell myself about the boredom.
Exactly. Yes. And that can be small and ordinary, like this example, or like a little pain in your leg or whatever, right? And that's like pretty easy to see and recognize, but that goes all the way. Okay. That goes all the way to like how we identify ourselves, what we see in the world, our own perception, So, and we can see, like, we can get kind of glimpses of these very high teachings, these very kind of, this sort of intense philosophy, if you will, right, of Buddhism, by seeing like little tastes of it in our day-to-day life. Okay. So if you think about how do you see the world when you're in a bad mood versus how you see the world when you're in a good mood, it's really different, really different. Even just good mood, bad mood. I'm not even talking about drunk or stoned versus sober, or being in love versus being in hate. Because being in hate is pretty much the same as being in love, We obsess the same amount. So I always see this often when I'm driving, I'm like, when I'm in a bad mood, it seems like everybody's in my way, Same traffically, it's not really any different. Same time of day, same route, whatever, But like if I'm feeling irritated, then I get the sensation like everybody's in my way. Like, why are all these obstacles arising? Versus when I'm driving and I'm relaxed and I feel in a good mood, whatever, the whole drive just seems more smooth, right? That's just my perception. There's nothing really changing on the outside. That's my perception.
So are you telling yourself a different story then?
Yeah, you're telling us to. What do you mean?
So like 4 years, like I understood you saying like when the boredom first starts happening, I have lots of discomfort. It's because I'm sort of telling myself a story about the boredom. I look at it, bypass the story. And so when you're in traffic and things seem to be like once in my way, is that because there's some sort of maybe unconsciously you're telling yourself a story about the
Exactly.
traffic?
Yes. We're always talking to ourselves, Some of us neurospicy types talk to ourselves more than others, but nonetheless, we're always talking to ourselves. We have this like running commentary, and we cling to our emotions, even our negative emotions, which is so dumb. But that's the habit that we have. We feel a loyalty to our negative emotions. Not naming any names. So, right. So we feel like if we're in a bad mood, let's say, I'm going to take something kind of small like that. Let's say we're in a bad mood. We look for support of our bad mood outside of ourselves, right? Of course, I'm in a bad mood. She did that. He did that. This is happening. That is happening. We want support to continue feeling shitty. I think she's old enough I can swear in front of her.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's just like children. But you're pretty old now. You're like an old lady now. How old are you?
15.
15 up. Yes, she's almost in a nursing home. So that's like we create this environment. Yeah. We create our own environment like that. And then let's say, okay, so we're in a bad mood and we're looking for all this, we want support for our bad mood, we want evidence, and then something happens, maybe a ray of sunshine through the clouds, in front of us, or we remember a funny joke, or, we see a funny dog video on Insta or whatever, and we start laughing and we start feeling a little free. A lot of times, we have to pay attention. A lot of times we'll be like, no, I'm in a bad mood. I'm not going to let my bad mood go for this funny video. This is what we do. Okay, this is what we do. So practices like just simple mindfulness and breathing practice is the basis. Okay, it's the foundational practice for the entire path. For every other practice that we do begins with mindfulness and breathing practice. We have to have that as a foundation, so that we can learn to pay attention to our own mind, to the outside environment, so we can be present and aware. Okay, so if the more that we do meditation, and anyone who's been meditating for any length of time has probably experienced this already, the quicker we will become at seeing what's happening in our own mind. Yeah, before meditation, before most people, before they encounter meditation, it's like sort of just going through life kind of unconscious, right? Which is things happen, we react, things happen, we react, with this kind of unquestioning, like knee-jerk reaction to everything, and we just think that's how things are, and I'm correct in my understanding of things, and that's it. We might see, like I did, like I'm really suffering from anger, like this is a problem, right? We might see those things, but that doesn't mean that we see the way out. Yeah. So we have this sort of sensation of being trapped. We have a lot of habits, and before meditation, people tend to think there's nothing we can do about that. Like that was my thought before I got into meditation. Oh, I have a really bad temper. Oh, I have all of this anger, and it's all my dad's fault because that's how he was, and that's how I was, and I would rather not be this way, but what can I do? This is how I am. Okay. Then when I encountered meditation, and I was like, oh no, it doesn't have to be that way, you know? Anger is just a habit. Jealousy is just a habit. Pride is just a habit. Ignorance ultimately is just a habit. And what we do through meditation, through contemplation, through study, right, is create other habits, more helpful habits, habits that will make us suffer less, and also, thankfully, help us to get to a state where we're not causing others to suffer either, right? So once we start to meditate and we exercise that muscle a little bit about being aware of what's happening in our mind, being aware of the thoughts without running after them. That's like the main thing of this meditation, right? We take a certain posture that supports the mind in meditation, and then we focus our awareness on something, in this case, the breath, but you can focus on anything you like, but we usually use the breath because it's always with us. We don't have to go and find our breath in another room, right? It's there as long as we're alive, okay? And just trying to keep our awareness on and continuously on the breath. And what we're doing with our thoughts aren't going to stop. We're not trying to stop thinking. It's not possible in any case, right? Actually, I need to amend that. It is possible. But it's not what we're trying to do with this meditation. Let's put it that way. Okay. So we're focusing on the breath. Meanwhile, the thoughts are coming. Okay. We're not trying to shut them out. We just let them come. But what we're trying to do is not run after them. We're trying to avoid following after them and creating a big story. Okay. Thought arises. Halloween is coming up. You know, let that go. It'll be replaced by another one. I like lemon cookies. That one will disappear. I would like to shoot my neighbor in the face. That might shock us, you know. It's still just a thought. It's okay. That goes. Okay. Then just keep focusing on the breath, bringing the mind back to the breath, back to the breath, back to the breath. Okay? What will happen, especially at the beginning, but really quite frequently, is we will get distracted. Okay? So thought will arise, oh, Halloween's coming up. And then we're just off and running. You know, oh, I gotta decorate my house. Oh, what am I gonna do with my kids? Oh, should I get candy? What kind of candy? Am I gonna pack? Am I gonna go to a party? I remember when I was 5 and I had this costume, you know, right? And we can spend the entire meditation time just telling ourselves a story, you know, going through this whole rigmarole, right? And we're not present if we're doing that. We're not here. We're not awake. We're not aware. Okay? So when we realize, oh man, I got really distracted, just bring the mind back. Bring the mind back to the breath. The Tibetan word for meditation is what? Who remembers?
Is it not?
Gom.
Gom.
Yes, Gom. Gom. What does Gom mean?
To know your own mind.
No.
No.
No. Gom means to become familiar with, to get used to. Okay. It's really important to understand that meditation is not something esoteric, right? It's sort of like colored that way in our culture because it's just not part of our culture, right? But it sort of comes on a magic carpet like this one from India or Tibet or Japan or whatever, you know, Thailand. And then, you know, oh, now we're part of this esoteric thing. No, it's just ordinary. It's very ordinary, you know. It's just very ordinary. We're just getting used to the mind when it is distracted versus when it's in a state of awareness. And we're practicing bringing the mind back to a state of awareness. That's all this meditation is. We try to keep awareness of the breath. We get lost, we come back. We get lost, we come back. We get lost, we come back. Okay? Yes.
You once said to recognize that you're distracted is a victory.
Yes, exactly. So we need to be aware of our own um, the bathroom is to the left. Let the people guide you always. Is my thought for the day. I love that. Um, yes, so our attitude, the attitude we bring to meditation is very important. So if we're coming at it with a self-judging, critical attitude, we're going to have a really hard time. You need to be very relaxed, open, aware, like laissez-faire, it's okay. Oh, I got distracted, but I realized I got distracted. That's a victory. That comes from anger and shame. That's a victory. So if we get distracted 100 times in 5 minutes, we notice we got distracted 100 times in 5 minutes. That's 100 victories right there. Rather than saying, "Oh, the worst, I can't believe I got distracted." Like, cool, I realized I got distracted. That's the whole point of this thing. All right, so I've gone way over what I wanted to. The time that we have, so we're going to start meditation. I think I'll have to wait for Camille to get back. So, any other questions for a minute on doing it? I just would encourage you to study the teachings on emptiness, and also to look at Mingyu Rinpoche's website or read his books.
Okay.
Okay, he's very, very good at describing this kind of stuff.
Can I ask you a question on
Sure.
something you just said? When you when you start telling yourself a story, what about when something that happens and it's just like it feels like a lost cause? Like it really feels like there's nothing I can do to get that to stop right now.
Mhm.
Is there something that I can do in that situation rather than trying to like force it to stop or like to get back to the breath? Is there something else I could do?
Yes, you can give it space. So, I mean, that thing went out. I think it needs to be plugged in.
It needs to be
ran out of
plugged in
battery.
and there's no plug over there.
Okay, it's fine. We don't need it because nobody has joined us. So
Yeah, I'll recharge it.
it's okay. Don't, it's okay, really. I think. Um, so can you just say your question again since Camille wasn't here?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm meditating, or even just in my daily life, my mind like really starts to go. Or and when I try to, it's like just over and over. I know that's happening, but all my efforts to try to refocus my attention on the breath or to like sort of get that to relax a little bit, they're all failing.
Right.
And it seems like it's not going to work. So there's something else I can do other than trying to like get back on the breath or
Yes,
let that go.
there's a couple things you can do. One thing you can do is just give it space. So just be like, oh, okay, you just want to run around, you just want to like do whatever, or so you can do that with moods too, like, oh, you're just in a bad mood and like you can't just drop it. Okay, hi, please sit down, have a seat, have a cup of tea, and just give it a lot of space. I'm reminded of that Chinese proverb, I think it's Chinese, like if you want to, the best way to tame a horse is to give it a big field, right? You just give it a lot of space. Sometimes that, and this is not kosher necessarily, but what I do is I just think of that and I just like imagine like it's like giant field and I'm like, okay, it's all yours. You have all the space you want. What happens when we do that is we take away the conflict. Okay. Once we start fighting, we solidify the thing that we're fighting against. Okay. So that's one thing we can do. It's just be like, all right, you just want to be distracted. Go ahead, be distracted. I'm still going to sit here. We can talk to ourselves like that. Like I'm still sitting here because I'm committed to this time that I set for meditation. But like you just want to run around. Okay, go ahead, run around, but I'm still going to sit here. And we can be aware of the distraction. Again, I think you really love me, Gary Boucher. He brings that up. Another thing we can do is just take a break, just stop altogether. Not the session, but just be stretch, stand up, maybe go to the bathroom, don't get your phone, come back, just be like, okay, and start again. these two things are really, really help. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Right. So let's do some meditation. So I think everybody's aware. If you're on a chair, you just want your feet flat on the floor. If your feet reach the floor, so you should. Thanks. If not, just do your best. If you're on the floor, then sit with whatever way is comfortable for you. You guys will feel good. Hands should be either palms down on the knees or palms up, one on top of the other like that, or with the fingers on top of each other and touching like that. Okay. All the other instructions are the same. So back is straight. Back of the neck is also straight. So the chin's going to be tucked in just a little bit. Straight but relaxed. Arms are just relaxed by this one side. Shoulders should be back a little bit. So normally what I do is just roll my shoulders back one time. It kind of opens up the chest. Okay. Mouth is closed but relaxed. Tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. The eyes ideally are open, looking down in front of you a few feet. Relax forward gaze. Breathing through the nose. So that's the posture. So we want to be, the body should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining the posture. Right? So we want to make sure that we're not holding this with tension. Then we want to bring our awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. Okay, so we focus in at the tip of the nose. And just take a moment to notice that sensation, please. So you see there's in-breath, out-breath, and a gap. In-breath, out-breath, and a gap. Don't worry about the gap. Don't try to manipulate your breath in any way. Just breathe normally. The aim is to maintain a continuous, consistent awareness of that sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. Letting the thoughts come and go as they will. The thought will arise, dwell, and disappear on its own. It will be replaced by another thought that does the same thing over and over again. If we get distracted, as soon as we realize we got distracted, just simply bring the mind back with gentleness and openness, even a sense of victory for having realized we got distracted, and focus on the breath again. Okay? So let's start that now. I can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in-breath or every out-breath for a total of 10 complete breaths. Counting is an aid to recognizing when we've gotten distracted, because we get too distracted and we lose count. So let's say we get to 4 and then we're just off and running in some storyline. No big deal. As soon as we realize that, just bring the mind back, start again at 1. If we get to 10, we don't want to let that distract us. Oh, I got to 10, the best. That's cool. It's great. Start again at 1. If we are feeling really distracted this morning, maybe choose a lower number, like 3 or 5 or 7. If on the other hand, we really feel like, oh, I'm really in the zone today, then we can pick a higher number, like 15 or 21. Don't recommend going beyond 21. It causes other issues. So please begin that now if you like. Counting every breath up to 10, or making a variation if your mind is too dull or too high. Please begin that now. Bring your mind back to the breath. Relaxed awareness. Mind should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining awareness of breath. You're not pushing anything away. That ringing sound, the other people in the room, any sensations you have, all of that is included in your mandala. We're just mainly focusing on the breath. We're going to take a tiny break. And you can stretch a little bit if you want. And keep resting if you want. Come back.
Oh, yeah, really good. That can continue for a while. Yeah. Because the people are back down here, because the other Norwegian won't come as long as it's doing that. Oh, huh. I don't know, you a lot of
The gentleman yourself, where you think.
Well, we're still feeling that.
Where
Yeah.
I fail to see it.
It's just somebody exploring the library.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
You do think we have to settle.
I usually like to take the stairs for that.
I do.
I don't have problems walking up and down the stairs.
She seemed to think that we go. I mean,
But I also wanted to make sure it wasn't.
so like, so yeah, I do see that we just like to.
Well, yeah.
Read like this, this story about a chariot. In the previous literature.
They were trying to do it on
So
Zoom,
like
but.
this, whatever, this monk, this guy comes up to the king, and then the king's asking
It's
about
been
the
very
chariots.
chaotic.
And he says, well, the chariot's like wheels and seat. And like, whatever the stuff on the chariot, but those are all parts, you take all the parts apart. You see the cherry just like none of those parts.
And I'm
right?
sure I did
She's
some
saying
stuff
like,
that's one.
Candace and stuff like that.
Charcoal plus and charcoal.
But it does seem to be that you just put all those things together in the right way. It's really good.
Yes.
Right, like, I agree, like, you can cut everything apart and separate it all, there's nothing anymore. But when they get put together, then you have
Gonna
a.
get in time, that's what I really want to
I
say.
understand myself.
Right, yeah. Cause we could, you know, right, we're welcome to.
I don't know, I feel like I don't do all this stuff.
Yeah,
But, and that sounds like a pain, haul everything down, set it all up. Put everything back in the bag boxes, take it back
We
out.
have to rearrange the furniture. It's supposed to be whoever was in here before us did. Clean
it's super weird, good.
Oh,
Looking really weird.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who like fixes ceramic pots.
Okay.
Figure out,
And
yeah.
he gets like recruited by this really powerful alien intelligence
Okay.
to like aid in this like restoration of this like sunken temple.
Okay. It sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
They find problems with the keyboard. Then they're like, I don't understand why there's all these things missing.
That's so weird.
You know,
Oh, I know why, because there's a little tiny delay. Who watching? Okay, somebody else is watching. It's nice. Hi, other person. Okay. So I'm gonna start to describe the next practice because those people know it very well. So next practice we're gonna do is called Tonglen. Are you familiar with that? We asked you that already. Tonglen means giving and receiving in Tibetan. And what we're receiving in this practice is the suffering of others, and what we're giving is our own happiness. We're giving things away. So it's a practice that is meant to kind of strengthen our compassion muscle. Okay. When we lack compassion for others, it's because we are more focused on ourselves, which is normal. It's a really strong habit we have. There's no blame in that. But it is a strong habit. And in order to be fully compassionate, then we need to work with that. So this practice is really just about turning evil on its head. Most upside down. Meaning, all the happiness for you, I'll take your suffering. Okay. There are 5 steps to this practice. The first is just resting mind. So resting mind, that's another thing actually that you could do when we're feeling like when Eric was describing like not being able to quiet the mind, you know, like the mind just running and running and you can't bring it back to the breath. And I said, well, you could just imagine that you're giving it a whole lot of space to just be. Or you can just take a rest and stop meditating altogether for a minute or whatever. But another thing you can do is this alternating meditation, okay, between focusing on the breath, like we just did, and resting the mind. So resting the mind is we're aware and like we're in the present moment, but we're not distracted, and nor are we focusing on anything. We're just letting the mind be, just letting the mind completely settle. Okay. So if we're doing that as a practice where we're alternating between those two things, we can do that. If you come back, we can really go through that the next time. Next week it will be Sharon leading because we hope to move on Saturday, hopefully. If not, then maybe I'll be here. I don't know. But anyway, we'll still be here. But the following week would be family meditation, be the first Sunday of the month. And the first Saturday of the month. We're so used to having it on Sundays. And then the second Saturday of October would be me again. Anyway, for that practice, for the alternating practice, we'd use this posture like that. Okay, breathing through the nose for like say 21 times, really focusing on the breath. Then we put our hands, palms down on the knees, breathe through the mouth, look slightly upward, and just rest the mind for 21 breaths, and then focus 21 breaths, rest the mind 21 breaths like that. It's so nice. It's one of my favorite practices. Apart from Tonglen, it's one of my favorite practices because it really keeps the mind fresh, you know, for both types of practice. Anyway, we can talk about that later. So the first is just resting the mind. Second is like a visualization. So we imagine in our heart center, so it's the center of our chest, a very bright white light. And then we consider that we're breathing in gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. All that smoke dissolves into the white light. And then we breathe out white light through all the pores of our body. That's just a visualization. Third is we choose an individual with whom to do this practice. We picture someone in front of us. So there's 4 categories of people that we can choose. Today we're going to do someone that we love a lot, because that's the easiest. Okay. So we picture that person. So the other categories are so someone we love a lot, someone who's neutral to us, so we know but we don't particularly like or particularly dislike, someone we dislike, and ourselves. Those are the 4 categories. Okay? So today we're going to do someone we love. So we picture them, we connect to them, and I'm going to walk you through this whole thing, so don't worry about it. Okay, and then we imagine whatever kind of sufferings they're experiencing takes the form of this gray smoke. It leaves them, it comes to us. We breathe that in, all that smoke dissolves into the white light in our head center. And then we offer them our own happiness, our own good fortune, anything they need, and the wish that they would attain enlightenment. All of that takes the form of white light. Without that white light, when the rays of light touch them, we imagine all their suffering disappears. Then we do that same process with all sentient beings all around us. Then we drop the visualization altogether and come back to the breath. Okay? So we have a very brief period of time in which to do that. Is there somebody in the room after us? Okay. So I'll just walk you through it, but understand that we would normally do this for a longer period of time, but today we'll do it quite brief. So I'm just going to ring this gong close. So just listen to the sound as long as you can hear it, and then let your mind rest. You want to close your eyes for this practice, that's fine. So now imagine in your heart center, so the middle of your chest, a very bright white light like a shining star. Then consider that you're breathing in gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy, through all the pores of your body, and all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center. So there's not a single particle of smoke left, there's only light. Now consider that you're breathing out white light through all the pores of your body. The light is cool and clear, very bright, light in weight. You're just breathing out that light through all the pores of your body. Now consider in front of you someone that you love a great deal. This person can be living or have already passed. Just imagine it there. And then go into your heart and really feel the love you have for this person. Recalling their many kindnesses, how they're there for you, how they love you, how they care for you. You feel that love, feel that sense of appreciation that is exchanged really between the two of you. And then bring to mind, but not just thoughts, but try to really feel what ways this person is suffering at the moment or did suffer when they were alive. So physically, they might be sick or have other physical difficulties. Mentally, emotionally, they might suffer from depression or anxiety or addiction, or they might have money problems or family problems, work problems. But as I said, try to really feel that. What does it feel like for them to have to go through that? And of course, naturally, because we love them so much, we want them to be free of this suffering. So we imagine that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves them, it comes to you. And with so much love and tenderness and compassion, you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And all of that suffering dissolves into the white light in your heart center. And then you offer them your own happiness, giving it away, anything at all that they may need to feel better, along with the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime, which is ultimately freedom from suffering altogether. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very, very bright. And we breathe out this light through all the pores of your body. And these rays of light go towards that person that you love so dearly. And when the rays of light touch them, their suffering just disappears, just lifts off of them and disappears. They feel a tremendous sense of relief, relaxation, and joy. And you feel really joyful for being able to do this for them. And we're going to do that same process with all sentient beings. First, imagining them all around us, in front, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. To the right, same thing. As many beings as you can imagine. Use that CGI technology in your brain. All the way to the horizon. Behind, again, as many beings as you can imagine. All the way to the horizon. And to the left, same thing. Countless beings, all the way to the horizon. So now you're in the middle of a sea of sentient beings, all around you in every direction. The first thing is to recognize your kinship with all of these beings, in that each one of us wants to be happy without exception. Each one of us wants to be happy. Each one of us wants to be free of suffering. Yet each one of us suffers nonetheless. We share this in common. We share this planet, the fate of this planet, the earth, the air, the water. If you take it down to a little more local, we consider all the different beings that support our day-to-day life, which we rarely think about. Those who make our clothing and sell our clothing, or like we were talking about, just to make a book, all the different people and steps involved in that. All that goes into our food that we eat every day, etc., just up to utilities and keeping the roads up and people who gave us the job, all kinds of things, so much connected that we don't think about or realize. And then we just consider all the ways in which all of these beings may be suffering physically, mentally, emotionally. And we generate compassion for them. Wish that they could be free of this suffering. And then we can then we consider that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes this form of gray smoke, hot and heavy and dark. It leaves all of them and it comes to you with a great deal of courage, compassion, openness. You breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke just completely dissolves into the white light in your heart center. Until there's not a single particle of smoke left, there's only light. And then you offer all these beings without exception your own happiness, giving it away, your good fortune, your wealth, intelligence, anything that they may need to feel better. And adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very life. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very, very bright. And we emanate this white light in every direction. So every single pore of our body emanating a ray of white light, very powerfully in every direction, as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, each individually, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in the morning sun. They feel tremendous sense of relief at having this burden lifted off their shoulders. They feel peaceful and happy. And you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now we let go of the visualization altogether, gently bringing the mind back to the sensation of the breath, coming in and out of the nose. Using that sensation to bring and keep the mind in the present moment, here and now. Now we're going to say these closing prayers. You're obliged to join us if it's not your jam. No problem. We begin with the prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I'm going to share my screen for anybody who's watching. Can I have one too? Because my screen's so far away now. I can't even see it. Can I have one? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. So these long life prayers we just say in Tibetan. And I'll instruct you on the other side. As I said, you're obliged to join us. You're welcome to. Om Swasti Jame Kempe Kalo Baru Buddha Session Buddhawa Nidra Dasike Buddha Senigan Shakti Dasini Sho Om Swasti Selaya Sunchima Jinjine Nun Sinta Se Grishu Kamawa Sansura Jaya Nama Gungam Sanpo Sawada Chantu Panse Viva Sawada Trile Tashin Deva Sawada Nama Danje Wame Shingino. Now, the other side, we say that first prayer, once in English, once in Tibetan. The rest we say just in English, and then we say the 100-syllable mantra. So that first prayer there is dedicating the merit. Since we're running over time, I will explain that next time. By this merit, may all attain initiative, may be the wrongly from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of psychic existence and realities. Sonandi tache sipali, prolene mega pacheshi, kevana shiva chupati, sipe sumedro chupati. May Buddha teach us from rise where it is not yet come to be, and where it is may it never fail, but grow and flourish evermore. As long as they stay yours, as long as we can change, we may. And stop. Ever as us to destroy the divine appearance and perception in a state of divinity, lives, and may I circle from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attaining the essence of mind, the state of oneness. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Anupadaya Vajra Sattva Tinova Tishatidome Bhava Sutokaya Me Bhava Sutokaya Me Bhava Anandakya Me Bhava Siddhi Me Praya Sansara Sitam Me Chitam Srinam Kuruham Aha Aha Bhaya Santatata Vajra Bhava Sanaya Sabha. So, thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, so before we disperse, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for coming this morning. I love hearing new people too. I love my old people too, both in both senses. Being an old one myself. And I want to check, I know you three already told me, but we are still packing at the center and we could use some help if you have a little bit of time after this to come to the center and help us. Do you guys have time?
And so we have some stuff we have to do today,
Okay,
some shopping and some other cleaning house and other.
understood. Thank you. How about, no, I'm kidding. How about you? Anytime?
What time?
There's pizza.
There's pizza. Where's the center at?
It's on Madison near Bunts. Yeah, I thought we would get some pizza for lunch.
Might be able to help for like an hour.
Okay, that would work. That would work. Is that okay? Is pizza okay with you guys?
Sure, I'm willing to help, you know that.
Sorry?
I'm willing to help.
Yes, I know you are. Thank you so much. Pizza? Pizza? Pizza, pizza, pizza? Pizza, pizza. Does that place deliver that we got from last time? They do? Sweet. All right, so we'll just get them to deliver. We'll go over there. The address of your phone?
Yeah.
It's building. It's so busy. It's building. It's 14023. Madison. So it's just before Bunce if you're going from this direction.